5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome back to Diagnosis Autism. I am Crystal Holman. I'm the Executive Director of Autism Chapter Eastern Shore. Last show we were talking about what is autism, the 14 signs, how to get a diagnosis. There's so much that a parent has to go through. And through that journey, we are here to help you help your children. We're here for any questions, any advice that you need. We're here for you. Today I am just thrilled to be able to introduce a friend from the Developmental Disability Administration. She's a resource coordinator, and she's going to tell you today the information that we need to get you started in this journey of autism.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I guess the number one question is, how does a parent apply for developmental disability services?
Sure. To make an application for DDA, you can obtain an application by going to ddamaryland.org or by contacting your local health department, which houses the Developmental Disabilities Program. Usually if a child is under the age of 14, we prefer that they contact us first at the health department so that we can kind of get an understanding of how their developmental disability is affecting them.
So how does a parent get an application to apply for Developmental Disability Administration services?
Okay. A parent would obtain an application by going to ddamaryland.org and clicking on the application. That application will then be submitted to our regional office. It's important to note that prior to the age of 21, there is a waiting list. And so we encourage, if a parent is looking for services for a young child, to maybe get connected with their resource coordination office first rather than making an application. Because with autism and other developmental disabilities, the progression can change as they age. So DDA provides those long-term supports, but your resource coordinator can provide some information referral services prior to their child being 21.
Well, and I know that the other question that is mostly on the minds of the parents when they call me is, does the parent have to have that first diagnosis up front?
Yes, that's very important. DDA does not do any type of assessment. We rely on the documentation from other doctors, physicians, places like Kennedy Krieger,
Right.
and things like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how long, once they have the actual diagnosis and then they are able to go to the website and they fill out the forms, how long after that does it take to actually get a determination letter?
Well, let me walk you through the process. Once a parent has an application and we get it in our office, we would then contact the parent to set up a meeting to do a couple things. First, we would do a HIPAA forms. That's basically a privacy practice policy that we have.
Right.
We would also get releases signed so that we can collect that documentation of your child's disability. And then the third thing we would do is do a needs assessment to kind of get a better understanding of what your child needs at the current moment and see where we can kind of align some resources to help.
Right, right.
Okay? Once we have that meeting, then we would send off those releases to the agency, to the doctor, to the hospital, collect that documentation, and then have another meeting. That meeting is called a critical needs list meeting, and that is a face-to-face visit with the resource coordinator, the parent, and hopefully the child. It's always helpful to have the child at those meetings. And we would kind of talk about the child's functional disability, how their autism affects their daily living, how their autism affects their parents' daily living. That's really important. The resource coordinator would then compose a form with a summary of kind of our conversation that we had, and that, along with the DDA application and the documentation, gets submitted to the regional office. The regional office is the agency that makes the final determination, and that determination typically comes within 2 weeks of submitting all that paperwork.
Okay.
The longest part of this process is actually collecting the documentation. So it's always helpful if a parent has a doctor's note or an IEP or Kennedy Krieger assessment, if they would bring that with them to that face-to-face visit, so we have that and it could kind of progress the process a little faster.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you that I personally tell the parents I know this is your child, but you have to treat it like it's a business. And I tell them to get folders on everything they apply for, photocopy the applications, make sure they have backups, because God forbid if it gets lost in the mail or something happens, they don't have the application, you have to do all that paperwork again. And the parent is under so much stress and maybe no sleep like I was for years. You're insane. Your mental capacity is gone. So it's so absolutely imperative for the parent to treat it like a business and have a file on every service that they apply for. That's one of the things that I stress massively. Or get that notebook and put it in the notebooks, put it in the notebooks, get the pocket protectors, whatever you have to do so that you have that paperwork.
Definitely.
It's so important. The other thing is when a parent is trying to decide, can they get this? Can they get services? Which website can they read about it, instead of if let's say they're home right now and they're watching us on the show, but they have a child in the back that's crying and screaming and carrying on, and they want to hear it, but they have to look it up and read more about it. What website do you tell them to go to?
Well, based on the needs, it's I like to kind of talk more with my families about particular needs that they may have, so they can get a better understanding and then maybe refer out. But we at the health department do have a website that we do put some resources on. It's wycomicohealth.org, and if you click on the programs and click on developmental disabilities, you'll find a slew of resources. DDAmaryland.org is also another great website that you can find out exactly what DDA provides, the COMAR guidelines, and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's wonderful, and it's so great. I mean, the internet now is such a amazing service. Let's say it's a parent that doesn't have internet, but they've got cable. They can hear what we're saying, but they don't have an internet service. What else could they do if they don't have that capability?
They can call in and make an appointment with me, with another resource coordinator at any time, and we would be happy to help them with any resources, any needs that they may have.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, especially when you're at wit's end and you don't have a computer and people are going, go to the website, go to the website. Well, then they can't.
Another thing we frequently do is if a parent is having a difficult time either finding a sitter or they don't have transportation, we can also make a home visit as well.
And that's, again, a massive helpful thing to have for the parents. I know my little son Hayden, they had to come to my house. I couldn't get out. I could barely drive down the road. It was terrible. So when they showed up, it was like the cavalry was here. Well, the other question that I have is one that I know that many, many parents have asked. Is the determination of DDA services, is it based on income?
No. DDA does not do any income limitations. It is, though, important to note that it is not an entitlement and that there is that eligibility piece.
Okay.
And that eligibility is contingent on the developmental disability and nothing else.
And as far as different services regarding the Developmental Disability Administration, I know personally from what we have gone through with my son Hayden, it has helped in so many ways, so much that, I mean, I'll give you one of the examples is that he could not handle music. He was very threatened by music. Because of that, and I had a 9-year-old little daughter who has been singing since she was a baby, just singing and singing and singing nonstop. So my Hope is singing, my Hayden's screaming, and he's leaping across the room ready to rip her lips off from singing. And I didn't know what to do, and I called, the DDA, and I said, I don't know what to do. And then they said, well, there is such thing called music therapy, and they helped pay for music therapy. At this moment, my son not only can my daughter, thank God, can sing through the house, my son is singing too, which I never dreamt I could ever have that again. I never dreamt that we could have music. We couldn't even have music on in the car. Wow. It was unbelievable. When he shut down about music and he was scared, but they walked us through what do we do and who can we go to and help him with the funding because it was so expensive.
Yes.
I didn't know what to do, and they were there. And then they also helped with, let me see, I think it was called hippotherapy, where he got to do the horseback riding. And it was a one-on-one instructor. And again, it just calmed my son so much, and it was so valuable to have that service. There was just so many different things. I know that the DDA had helped financially with behavioral specialists that came from Baltimore to come up here and help me help my child. And again, I do not know what I would have done without that service. It was something that was imperative in my life. So again, I tell the parents that I don't know what I would have done. I truly don't. Because when the doors opened and the determination letter came in, I didn't know what that meant. Okay, it's a determination. Okay, he has this disability. What does this mean? And I was so confused. But then when I got with the resource coordinators that came to my home, it was like Christmas morning every day, because I could call them and tell them what is happening and what's going on, and they were able to help me out. And now my journey for my son has, Hayden's just doing phenomenal, which of course now there's times I call and let him know how good he's doing, and they're like,
and that's
wow,
always good to hear.
Okay, we're not used to hearing that. What do you mean you're calling me just to tell me how good he's doing? I said, I don't want to forget you guys that you helped, and that was amazing, and it was amazing to go through that.
I'm glad we could help you.
The other part, I guess, is when the parents do call and they're so upset. How do you tell them that it is going to get better? I mean, does DDA ever step in and say things will change?
Yeah, we do a lot of just reminders that there's a strong network of support, that there are resources out there to help you, and that they're not alone in this battle.
And that's wonderful. It's nice, because I feel, of course, they may not feel that way about me, but I do feel that with my friends. I do. I really do. The coordinators that I have, they may or may not like it, but they're on a first name basis with my book. I'm like, oh, you want to come to dinner? No. But it's just a really great relationship that I have with my coordinators, and like I said, it just feels like part of the family. I can call, and God knows I've called many times crying my eyes out over situations, and they're there to help calm me down. And Hayden, like I said, Hayden's progress he was so severe, and they had told me there was no hope. And then because of DDA, they told me there is hope, and that everything is going to be okay. And the coordinators that I had were so determined that basically, I hate to even say encouraging me, but they really were. They were so kind, and the kindness of the company and the way they handled all my different scenarios of situations, me not knowing what to do, and then being able to help me through that.
Right.
It was a wonderful thing.
Good.
It really was.
Good.
And again, I am just thrilled that you could come out today and to explain some of this information to the parents. And I know that there's so many different openings regarding the funding through DDA. And again, but that's something that if they did get to go on the website, they can read about all these different, like the LISS and the different types of funding that's available and what it's for.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So there's a couple different services that we offer. We do offer long-term supports for those adults that include day and residential and supported employment services. But for your child, we offer a low-intensity case management and information referral service. So like you said, you came to your resource coordinator with a need, and we do our best to help you meet that needs and connect you to the resources that would help you. Then there's, of course, that funding piece that's tied to it. We do, like you mentioned, have that low-intensity support services grant that's operated through the Epilepsy Association of the Eastern Shore, and we can use that to tap into a pool of money to pay for things like music therapy or equine therapy or respite or adaptive equipment. But that funding is first come, first serve, and we may run out. We don't know when, but it comes each July, and just call and find out and see.
That's right. It never hurts to at least try.
Right.
I know that there are many requests out there, and there's so many children that do need help, and on a state level, I'm trying to help with that too.
Right.
Fighting the battle to try to keep getting the funding. And I I don't wish this upon anybody, but I know if the government people ended up getting children with autism, they'd certainly understand where we're at. It's a long journey, and it can be overwhelming. And through the DDA, it makes the journey a little bit easier. And again, I'm so grateful you could come on today and to talk with me. And please feel free to come back anytime. If there's any updates or anything you would like to share with the public, I'm here to let their parents know what's going on, how to get the help, and where to go to get it. And again, I am Crystal Holman from Autism Chapter Eastern Shore, Diagnosis Autism, and we're just thrilled to have PAC 14 be part of our show and to support us. Thank you so much.
Would you like to see your community organization or nonprofit group featured on PAC 14? To get started, contact us at 410-677-5014 or visit our website at www.pac14.org. PAC 14 is a great way to connect with your community.